Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. ICRC presents a new way to help families and communities cope with and manage the challenges of caregiving with a form of audio respite. The Caregivers Corner is the podcast that provides insight on caregiving, stories of encouragement, and tips on self-care from employees of ICRC, those who assist seniors, and members of the community. We bring you episode 8 of the Caregivers Corner. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to episode 8 of the Caregivers Corner podcast. I hope you all enjoyed the previous episode with Stephanie Hensley as she shared her experience with battling breast cancer. If you have not listened to that episode, please listen on ICRC's YouTube channel. It was a great conversation and provided real insight on Stephanie's battle with breast cancer and the different physical and mental stresses it can cause. We always want more listeners. Tell everyone you know about the Caregivers Corner podcast. Our podcast is uploaded to YouTube the first of the month. Some episodes are short, some are long, but they all provide great information. For those who have been listening from the first episode, thank you so much. And to those just getting started, welcome. And thank you for checking out the podcast. It is November, Turkey Day is coming, fall weather is here, hoodie weather is here, and soon it's going to be Christmas. On this episode, my guest will be Carmen Estrada, the Executive Director of Inland Caregiver Resource Center. I'm excited to speak with Carmen today on how she got started at ICRC, her experience as a caregiver, and hopefully a sneak peek on this year's ICRC Week. We will also be recognizing National Family Caregiver Appreciation Month, Alzheimer's Awareness Month, Veterans Day, and International Stress Awareness Week. Hanukkah begins November 30th, so happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. I'm your host, Derek Chacon, and I'm a care coordinator with ICRC. Please enjoy my conversation with the Executive Director of ICRC, Ms. Carmen Estrada. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's great to have you on the podcast. So for those who don't know, this is actually the 10th recorded podcast that we have. So it's a great milestone for ICRC, for the podcast, and so to have our executive director on the podcast was a big deal for me. And so I'm very happy to have you as a guest today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited too. And I just want to say you've done a great job with the podcast. I'm excited to hear the new episodes every time they come out. You've done a great job. And so I'm honored. I'm honored to be on your podcast now and talk and just chat.
Awesome. Well, good. So I guess we'll start from the beginning. So how did you get started working with Inland Caregiver Resource Center, or as I say, ICRC? Most people say ICRC. How did you get started here?
Well, I started a long time ago, actually this month of October. I've marked my 18th year now with the agency. It doesn't feel like 18 years, but it's been so long. I started as an intake specialist. I applied after I graduated with my bachelor's from UC Riverside. And so I just kind of moved myself up in the agency after being the intake specialist for a bit. Then I was respite coordinator, program manager, and then the opportunity presented itself where I could be the executive director. And it kind of happened in an awkward situation as the agency was facing closing back in 2009. And so, I kind of stumbled on the opportunity and I took it and I kind of just ran with it. And so I've been the director now. Wow, it's been, 9 years now that I've been the director. So yeah, that's how I started with the agency.
So altogether, you were with ICRC 18 years, and 9 years you were not the executive director, but now you've been the executive director for 9 years.
Right. So half the time I've been here now, I've been the director, and the other half I was, doing learning about the agency really and the different aspects of running a nonprofit. And so, yeah, it's been exciting to be a part of the agency so long. It's been a wonderful opportunity. It's a great organization to work with. What the agency stands for, its mission, everything has been such a blessing for me personally, in my career, and also as an individual learning about caregiving. I didn't know I was going to face caregiving when I started with the agency. Being a caregiver kind of just stumbles on you. And when I started with the agency, I had no clue, even though my mom was actually caring for my grandparents at that time. And so I started to learn about what she was doing and her challenges. But I learned them through, learning about caregiving at the agency. So it was kind of, it was eye-opening, really. It was eye-opening to this whole other dimension that we really don't think about or talk about, in life. We talk about having kids, getting married, going to school, this and that, but we really don't talk about, okay, what happens after all of that, and aging and illness and having to care for one another. We really don't have those type of conversations until it actually happens. And so working with the agency, it really opened my eyes to all of that. Because before, I was actually working with nonprofits that focused on helping youth. And so I thought that I was going to be helping youth, right? Either teaching, or coordinating programs to help the youth. But, after getting started with ICRC, my whole view kind of changed. And there's this whole other set of people that sometimes we don't think about, and that's our older population. And so ICRC introduced me to that.
Yeah, I'm hearing that that whole story. It's very similar to my thoughts on the agency. I thought the same. I wanted to help kids. I wanted to help the youth, and then you all of a sudden become, I guess, a little more aware. Well, you become very aware because you're working with this population all the time, the senior population and caregiving population,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, like there's this whole other population that needs help,
Yep.
and maybe, I'll say it, some people don't think about it. They think, oh, that's just they're taking care of their family, or they're taking care of their
Right.
son or daughter, and it's like, well, these persons need assistance too. Um, and so it's opened my mind to caregiving and thinking about caregiving also. It's like this. I was thinking about it when you were talking. Is it's this gift you don't realize you're getting when you're working there.
Right.
Um, because
Right.
because now I'm like, dealing with my grandmother who is aging, and my mom who's now slowly transitioning into this caregiver
Right.
position. And it's so
Hmm.
funny because when I try to bring that to her attention, she's like, no, I'm just taking care of your mom. Like, I'm just taking care of my mom. And I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
and I tell her, I go,
It's
I'm very happy where I'm at, because then I can provide this information to you.
right. Right. Yeah. And you get a lot of insight from working with caregivers, but I must say, when it does happen to you, you're speaking about what's going on with your grandmother and your mother. It's very different, right? We have our ICRC hat on, where we know all the services and supports that are available that would be wonderful for our family. But they're not necessarily ready. And so we have to go through that also with our family, introducing them to the different services, and trying to get them to try get and receive and accept help. And that's the whole other side of caregiving. So working at ICRC, you kind of see both, because everybody's going to go through caregiving at some point. For me, it happened with, my son, and also with my mother. And then now for you, it's happening with your mother and your grandmother. Everybody has a parent and a grandparent, right? And
Yep.
so caregiving is going to hit you at some point in life. And so being able to work at ICRC, has helped me get some insight on what we need to do, for caregivers and as caregivers. But then also kind of like you have to own your experience when you're going through it. And you do have to kind of separate and let things happen as they are going to happen sometimes. So yeah.
I think about when you were saying, putting on your ICRC hat. So if I take
Mhm.
that off and I'm talking to my mom, like, hey, there's these services. I mean, I'm an emotional person anyway, but it's like these emotions take over, and so you're not
Right.
necessarily thinking critically, like how you were saying. They got to be ready, which I get that, with a client, but with my own
Right.
parents, it's like,
Right. It's hard.
just do it now,
Mhm.
like, um,
Right.
yeah. Did you ever see yourself as the director of IC? So like you walk in first day and
Mm,
you
well,
started as an intake specialist, right? And you're like, I'm gonna be the
it's
director
funny.
one day,
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that question because um, I did. I did know that I wanted to be the director of something, right? I didn't know that I was going to be the director of the agency, but I remember interviewing for the intake specialist position, and there's always that interview questions. What are your goals in the next 5 years? And usually employers ask that because they want to see, okay, how committed are you going to be to this agency, right? What are your long-term goals? Are we included in that or not?
right?
And I remember being asked that, and I remember saying, I'm here to learn as much as I can about running a nonprofit because eventually I want to be a director of a nonprofit. And so I came in intentionally working for a nonprofit organization because that's what ICRC is, wanting to learn about all the different aspects of it because I did want to be a director. I didn't know I was going to be the director of this organization. I think when you're younger and you're fresh out of college, you're like, well, I'm going to open up my own nonprofit and I'm going to help all these people and I'm going to save the world and all this
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
right? And so I had that kind of energy when I started with the agency, but it was intentional. It was, I know I have to kind of start from the beginning, or from intake specialist. That's like the first people that our clients speak to other than our admin assistants. And so really to run an agency, you have to learn about all the different aspects of the organization. And so, I came in wanting to learn as much as I could, because when I was in college, I had internships and I had already worked with several other nonprofits. And I had internships about grant writing, about, outreach and different things like that. And so I guess I would say when I started college, that's when I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to work as in the nonprofit sector. And of course, that's not very popular because everybody always says, there's no money in that and this and that.
right.
But, my focus was not necessarily, oh, the money. It was more, I want to help people. I want to be proud of what I do for a living. I want to be um, I want to create change, and that you can do that in a lot of different ways. But I chose nonprofit organizations because they're more grassroots. They're more dealing with the people. There's, in my opinion, less politics, less bureaucracy, and nonprofits get things done.
Yeah,
Honestly, yeah, the nonprofit organizations, and there's so many all over California, all over the country. They're the ones that get the stuff done, and they're the ones that resolve the issues and that help in resolving a lot of the issues that come up in our society. And so I wanted to be a part of that. Um, and I was lucky that I was able to do that here at ICRC. Um, and so, now 8 years later, now I'm thinking, okay, so now what do I do? What do I do
yeah,
next? do, and so now the goal is, to keep helping the agency grow, keeping the agency grow, help maintain it as the agency that provides the support to caregivers. Because honestly, when I started, there weren't many organizations even, focusing on caregiving at all, or even giving caregivers a voice. It's always been the care receiver, the person needing the care. That has been the focus of a lot of programs and services. And so I think that ICRC is very unique in that our mission and our goal is to help, communities and families cope with and manage the challenges of aging and caregiving. And so caregivers have a voice at our organization. And I'm really proud of that. And so just helping the agency continue to have that status is what's, really important to me.
Awesome. I love the self-fulfilling prophecy of, yeah, I'm going to be a director of something, because I agree with you. We definitely, those young adults, when they come out of college, like, yeah, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I mean, I remember having that even at 18. I'm like, I'm going to start a
Yeah.
band. I'm going to tour the country, and it's going to be amazing. And then, and it doesn't work out that way. But when you connect to what I'm hearing, when you connect to a mission of, I want to, assist people, and I want to help people. I want to help my community. That's where I think great things happen. I read somewhere that if you have a mission that you want to fulfill, so like for me, it's help out my community, be the best person that I can, and then give it away. I don't think you're going to fail. You're not going to fail if you
Right.
continue to have that. So that's what it sounds like to me, is that you have this mission of, I just want to help people. I want to provide the information I have to the community, and I want to use my talents to further this agency. And
Right.
I think that's really awesome. So definitely. In the past 18 years that you've been with ICRC, how has ICRC changed? Has it been more technical? What type of
Mhm.
changes have you seen?
Oh wow. Well, there's been a lot of changes. When I started with the agency, there was a full staff of 20. There was an executive director, assistant director, operations, clinical supervisor. The agency was complete. It really was. Unfortunately, with the nonprofit sector, we depend a lot on obviously donations and private grants. And with ICRC, we've, focused a lot on getting government grants. And so our biggest funder is the state of California Department of Healthcare Services. And back in 2009, when everything crashed, right, who were the first to be affected, or one of the first to be affected? Nonprofits. And so at that time, the agency lost 73% of its funding. And so we went from a staff of 20 to a staff of 4. We had a skeleton crew. And, our board of directors was pretty much ready to close the doors. And so it has changed a lot because, we've gone through so many ups and downs, and we've been resilient as an agency. We've worked with what we've had. We've made lemonade out of lemons, I guess you can say, on
Love it.
many occasions. And so, working towards keeping the doors open is definitely a very different experience than where we're at now. Where we have new programs starting. We have our new CBT program starting next month. We have the Pearls program, which is fairly new. And so we've just been through, we went through a lot, but fortunately we've been resilient. And so now we've even gotten bigger than before, to where now we're a staff of 30. And so that in itself, shows a lot of progress and a lot of change within the agency. And then within the last couple of years, through this pandemic, even more so, the agency was never big on social media. Again, we've been a very grassroots agency, providing services, one-on-one and person. But of course, all of that changed because of the pandemic. And it really pushed us to be out there more virtually, electronically, on social media. And so that's another area where we've grown recently, is this podcast wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for us trying really to reach our clients at a time when it was hard to reach them in person or when we couldn't reach them in person. And so, things like the podcast, our new website, commercials we're putting together, being more active on our Facebook, doing Facebook Lives, doing the number of education classes that we do each month, the support groups, everything that the growth that we've just had over the past year and a half. And really, we were kind of pushed to do that. But it just shows the capacity of the different things you have at hand. Again, working with what you have, making lemonade out of lemons, not keeping your focus on what the mission is, even through these difficult times. And of course, the difficult times are usually when people need more help the most. And so I've seen a lot of changes within the agency, and it's exciting because I think we're now entering like this new era, where we have all this technology at our hands that we can use that could benefit the agency growth, but not just the agency growth, the clients too. And so that's exciting. And then, we're learning to live a new normal. I don't think things are ever going to go back 100% to the way they were before COVID. And so we've learned a lot on how to adapt as an organization. But, you have to kind of look at the silver lining. And the silver lining is, this big push towards getting out there more, has allowed us to reach people that we weren't reaching before. And it also has allowed us to continue to support our staff, and continue to make sure that they're safe. And so I think moving forward, the agency is going to continue to adapt this kind of hybrid model where we're going to be providing services in person, but also continue to do stuff virtually because that they have been very beneficial.
Awesome to hear that that we're going in that route, because I love options, and so I think majority of people do. So to have the option to meet with a support group virtually, where they may be more comfortable to thrive and speak with other caregivers. But then you also have the other side where somebody enjoys being face to face, and if we're able to offer both, I mean, that's win-win. It's awesome.
Right.
And then also, I wanted to say that so I've been with the agency 2 years. It was 2 years, September 23rd. I think it just passed.
Wow, 2 years already.
I know.
The time flies.
I know, it's crazy. But having that transition during the pandemic was easy. It really didn't feel like anything. Like we went home, we were back to work on Monday, like at our home, and it was virtual, and nothing changed. Like it was just, we adjusted, of course, and I'm sure there's still more adjusting, but we were, like you said, we were still able to provide to our clients and seniors, and that was great to just have that smooth transition and have the support to move forward and continue providing services.
Yeah, and that that smooth transition, we owe a lot to our ICRC team, to be able to do that. Specifically our director of operations, Daniel, who really he's kind of like the mastermind behind a lots of things that we're doing. I mean, he was able to transition us right into working from home. I think, and I'm proud that we did it so quickly, because I know a lot of organizations struggled, and are still struggling. And so, it just kind of shows you how the agency has grown, because to be at that capacity where you can, from one day to the next, switch like that, it shows you, we're a very sustainable, very strong organization. And again, and that's due because of the team, the ICRC team, everybody that works in the agency, that helps it function the way that it does.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I finally get to do this, so shout out to Dan for that smooth transition. Yeah, that was like the first time I got to do that, so I'm like, oh, the opportunity has presented itself. So, so where do you see ICRC going in the future? Like, let's not look too far. Let's say like the next year.
The next year, well, obviously, the very first thing is always continue to sustain the same level of funding that we have. And so, as I mentioned, our main funders are contracts that we get from, the state and the counties. So always a focus is make sure that we continue to be competitive. And when we reapply that, we get those funds for sure, because those are really like the bread and butter, right? What allows us to provide the wide range of services that we provide. But on another note, it's also difficult to rely on government funds like that. And so one thing that I'm hoping we can do more of, and that is, raise funds in other ways. So diversify our funding by not just focusing on government grants, but private donations, fundraisers, and different things like that. And so I'm excited because we recently got funded from Kaiser. We got a grant from Kaiser Foundation to help enhance our services, our agency, kind of almost like a capacity building grant that we received from them. And it's going to allow us to open up a second office in Riverside. It's going to allow us to find someone to help us with diversify our funding so that we continue to grow. As an organization, I think there's still so many other things that we could add to our list of services and assistance for caregivers and older adults. And so just that growth, continuing to first, obviously sustain where we are, but continue to move forward and growing. And so that's hopefully, within the next couple of years, we'll even have even more staff. Dan's not going to like that.
Hope he's listening to this.
Yeah, but within the next month we'll be adding another 4 people to our team because of our new CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy for late life depression program. And so, yeah, we're going to continue to add those programs and continue to have more services available to our clients.
I love that. It's great. It's great to see, since I've been here, that gradual increase of services and programs and things like that. It's exciting. I feel I came at a great time, and to be a part of it has been great. And I'm excited to see, where it's going to be. I mean, just in the next year, all of that sounds exciting. So you can only imagine, hopefully a gradual increase that will provide more services, like you were saying, to clients and caregivers. So it's been great. It's been an awesome experience to see ICRC grow like that. I want to talk about, I know that you had said in the beginning that that you became a caregiver with your son. How has that experience been, as far as assisting caregivers and providing information to caregivers, to then, as we said, taking off that hat and then becoming a caregiver to your son?
Well, I'm gonna admit that I didn't see myself as a caregiver. And it's funny because that's what happens with a lot of caregivers, right? They don't see themselves as a caregiver until you kind of think a little bit more about it. And so for me, with my son, my son, he has autism, he has cerebral palsy, and he has a couple of other things. And so when he was born, I really didn't see myself as a caregiver. I was just his mom. We struggled when he was born. He was born really small, had difficulty breathing, had a lot of things going on. And so I didn't really recognize myself as a caregiver until later on, when I started seeing, that he's not meeting some of these milestones that a lot of doctors throw out there, right? And you start seeing, okay, well, he is definitely going to need more assistance than, another child at his age would. But it wasn't until, it's funny because he's now 16, but I really didn't see myself as a caregiver to him until probably, I would say, like 4 years ago, honestly. Up until then,
Wow.
I'm just his mom. And as moms, as a parent, and because you're a father, you just do anything you have to do for your kids. And so for him,
Yes.
it was always, therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, but I didn't make that connection. And it was it's weird because, that was my son. I had to do whatever I had to do for him. But I'm also, during this whole time, I'm working at ICRC, and then I'm being the director of ICRC, and I don't make that connection until later. And the reason that, like I said, that I made that connection is because I start recognizing the fact that he is going to need support and care on an ongoing basis. It's not just, until he's, for normally, your kids are 18, they go off to college and all of that stuff. But for him, it's going to mean something different. And it's going to mean ongoing support. And so when I kind of realized that, then I started to see, okay, so maybe it is important that I take care of myself. Maybe it is important that I start recognizing that I'm a caregiver and that I need help with him, because before that it was just myself and his father and, family. But when I finally make that realization, that's when I finally accept respite, right?
Yeah.
To help with his care. That's finally when I start like going to a support group. And
Oh, wow.
it, like I said, it's so funny how it all works. I have all this information, but you don't make that connection. And it just goes to show you that each caregiver has their own journey, and you have to let them walk their journey, right? You need to let them walk through their journey. And so for me, it was that. And then, a few years ago, my mother was also diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And so that's a whole nother layer of caregiving and a whole other experience, where I was for a few years what you call the sandwich generation caregiver, right? When you're caring for your young children and also caring for an aging relative. And so I was that sandwich. But because my son has special needs, right? I kind of saw myself as that sandwich with a little avocado on it, that little extra special. Right?
Yeah, you were
Because
the club sandwich.
right, I was the club with bacon and everything. But yeah, and having gone through that experience, I saw myself a lot in what the experience of other caregivers go through. But I do have to say that I've learned so much from our clients, and it kind of gave me the added strength to even go through my own journey. Because you start thinking, like of the people that I spoke with during intake, or that I at one point did a family consultation with, or that I taught a class to. And you start remembering these different faces, and you start thinking, oh, wow, I remember what they said. I remember Mr. Lopez, or I remember Miss Catalina, or I remember, Rosalinda. And these are all clients that I've worked with. And you gain so much knowledge from them, and then you apply it to your own experience and your own journey. And so and to see that and to go through that is one thing, but then when you start seeing that same process within other clients, it's just so wonderful to see. And it just shows how and why the services that we provide as an agency, why they work, and why we need to continue doing what we do, right? And so, and in addition to giving me experience or giving me knowledge so that I can continue to do what I do in my own caregiving journey, it also gives me this extra push to continue doing what I have to do as a director, to continue moving the agency forward, because these services are needed, and they create change, and they're positive, and so we have to keep them going. And so it's ICRC kind of has inspired me in a lot of different ways. And so, like I said, I've been very blessed to be a part of this organization for this long.
It's amazing that I always describe the idea of community to, whether it's clients who I'm encouraging to go to a support group, or even just speaking with friends and saying like, I love that sense of community. And that's what I'm hearing when I'm listening to your experience. It's learning from other people, it's learning from others'
Right.
experiences, it's
Hmm.
supporting those people in their
Hmm.
decisions and meeting them where they're at. And then
Right.
in turn, what you learn, you take with you and provide to either yourself or someone else to in turn make you better. But then you're also providing encouragement to them, and in turn they're becoming better. And it's like, it's this beautiful community of caregivers, of seniors, of people, honestly, like of people that just
Hmm.
have that same mindset of, I just want to, take care of my family and ensure that they're okay, and take care of my loved ones. And that's what gets me excited, is that
Right.
community
Right.
aspect.
Eh, Right. And so, working, it doesn't feel like work, right? Because it,
No.
it, it feels so good, right? Is a job supposed to feel so good? And so, like I said, I feel blessed to be a part of it. But, highlighting what you've said about community, that's what November is, right? November is National Family Caregiver Month. And it's
Yes.
where we celebrate caregiving, we celebrate aging, we celebrate and we say, yes, we are in these situations and they may be challenging, but they're also positive and they've also brought us a lot of joy. And we have to continue to move forward. And, we need to say thank you to all of our caregivers that do this on a day-to-day basis. We need to honor them, and we need to acknowledge the work that they do. And hopefully at some point this is done on a daily basis and not just in the month of November. Although at ICRC we do it on a daily basis, but the month of November is special because it's National Family Caregiver Month and it's been recognized as that. Um, here in the U.S. And so that's always a very exciting month for the agency, where we can do more, even more for our clients, in celebrating, caregiving.
Yes, definitely. Thank you for recognizing that, and of course, we want to recognize on the podcast that November is National Family Caregiver Appreciation Month. So thank you so much to all the family caregivers, and we just want to provide that shout out to you if you're listening. Um, with November, and having National Family Caregiver Appreciation Month, it is also Alzheimer's Awareness Month. And so for those um, providing care to someone with Alzheimer's, of course, we want to um, provide that awareness to those listening. And then, of course, Veterans Day. So thank you so much to all who have served and who have served. Um, and then there's also beginning November 28th, International Stress Awareness Week. That's for those who are having high stress at this time. Here at ICRC, we promote self-care, and in providing a time to take care of yourself, take part in a self-care activity. Um, how have you battled that stress with, I'm sure with caregiving, as we all know, stress is there.
Mhm. Mhm.
How did you battle that, or how do you battle that at this time? What
Yeah.
type of self-care do you do?
Well, I've learned to listen to my body. I've learned to listen to my emotions, to recognize them. I've learned to allow myself to feel, right? And I've
Yes.
learned to give myself the same care that I give to my son. And so that translates to self-care. And we talk a lot about self-care in the agency. A lot of our classes is focus on that, making sure you take care of yourself. It's not easy as a caregiver to do. It's not easy to accept the fact that you matter and that you need to take care of yourself. We always say, if something happens to you, what's going to happen to the person that you care for? But a lot of we don't focus on it, and we don't make it a daily thing, and we need to make it a daily thing. And so I learned to do that through, we teach a class called Powerful Tools for Caregivers at ICRC, and I've taught that class several times with some of our other staff members, and that class taught me how to really value or to give importance to my own care. And like I said, I didn't recognize myself as a caregiver until a few years ago. And that's when I accepted the respite. And that's when I started support groups. So for me, self-care is doing that, getting that respite, accepting the help, participating in support groups, going to counseling, that's also important. Getting, talking to someone about what you're going through, because as caregivers we go through so many different emotions. There's frustrations, there's sadness, there's happiness as well, there's joy, but there's a lot of frustration, sometimes even anger and guilt, and so it's important for you to process those emotions, and you can do that through talking to someone. And self-care means different things to different people. The biggest thing is finding something that you enjoy, and allowing yourself that flexibility you have in providing care. And what I mean by that is, as caregivers, you have to be flexible because things change all the time. Whether they get sick, or you have a new diagnosis or behavior issues, the pandemic, a lot of different things change quickly. And as caregivers, you're flexible, right? Right? We're resilient right away. We have to make the changes we have to do. Allow yourself that same flexibility with your self-care. And what I mean by that is, incorporate self-care into your daily life. It doesn't have to be anything big. It could be something as simple as giving yourself a few minutes just to sit there and breathe and relax. Or, think about what brings you joy. For me, something that's very joyous for me, I love basketball. That's like my passion, right? I played it in high
Yeah.
school. I follow the Lakers, they're my team. And so for me, it's, watching a game, or going outside and shooting some hoops, right? I'm older now, but that doesn't mean I can't shoot.
No.
And so find something that you enjoy, something that brings you happiness, and do it. For a few minutes. It doesn't have to be hours at a time. It could just be for a few minutes. Because you matter, right? You matter. Everyone matters, and you have to give yourself that time, on a daily basis, to recognize that you're doing a great job. Give yourself a pat on the back, and take a few minutes to just relax and rest, or do something you enjoy. I think is really extremely important.
Yeah, I got a little emotional right now with you saying that, because it was said with so much conviction that you matter. Um, in hearing you describe self-care, I realized I'm very young in my self-care. So what I think is like, I'm just gonna work out and that's my self-care. But it's deeper than that. It's
Right.
when I hear about the emotions
Mm-hmm.
and the anger and the frustration,
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you sharing a little bit in your feelings with that, and it makes me comfortable to share that. Growing up, I felt comfort in the anger. I felt comfort in the frustration. I felt
Mm-hmm.
comfort in those negative emotions,
Mm-hmm.
um, but they're toxic. You can't thrive when you're angry. It
Right.
just creates more negative stuff.
Right.
And so, in growing up, and and going to counseling and talking to people, you suddenly get control of your emotions, and you
Mm-hmm.
understand somewhat how they work. Maybe some things come out of nowhere, but you begin to navigate them a lot better. And it was like you were saying, that's self-care. Accepting help, going to talk to
Right.
somebody, being comfortable in those emotions, learning how to navigate those emotions, learning how to communicate better, learning how to communicate your feelings.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. I'll say that for me is just communicating your feelings in a constructive and positive way, that that is self-care,
Oh.
because you're making those emotions or those feelings known. You're making your opinions known, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not in a frustrated way or a I need this now type of thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
more of a, I'm concerned about this, and I need a time frame, and I need it. It creates more organization with what
Yeah.
you're expressing,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was encouraged by that to honestly, the big one was to give myself a pat on the back every once in a while,
Right. I,
because I just want to move forward. I'm like, give me the next test, give me the next test, give me the next test. I could do it, I could do
right.
it, I could do it. But it's like you burn out. Like I've
Yeah.
learned that, you burn out, you get emotional, you get upset, you get frustrated,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, and you have to know your limits a little bit, and you have to organize. I would say for me, I need to organize. Okay, how can I do this? Could I do this? Is it possible for me to do this? Because it's if I just commit to everything, right? If I just commit to everything and I do everything, but I'm unhealthy, I'm not eating, I'm burned out, I'm upset and like on edge,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really worth it. Like
Right.
you have to know, okay, let's organize this. I could do this day maybe I need help from somebody. Let me ask them. Let me get this help here. I know there's a service here that can assist me. And all of a sudden it's like you're doing it, right? But that's self-care. And I just
Yeah.
realized that.
Yeah, it is. It's really like I said, it's we matter. Everybody matters. And so, because you matter, you need to give yourself the opportunity. You have to not put yourself in a situation. Sometimes I think we do that. Like we set ourselves up for failure sometimes, I feel like, because
Yeah.
we want to do everything. And caregivers understand, you want to do everything, 100%, but we're all human, people, we're human, all of us, and we have to give ourselves that flexibility. We have to be flexible with ourselves, and not be so hard on ourselves. I think sometimes we're just so hard on ourselves, and why, there's no, the dishes are going to get done at some point. It's okay if you leave them there. If you leave them
Yeah.
there for a couple more hours, they're going to get done at some point. Um and so, listen to your body, listen to your emotions, pay attention to yourself. Who else is going to pay attention to you? You need to pay attention to yourself, and reflect on what your needs are, as a caregiver as well. And it's hard. It's so hard, because along with that, there's always this guilt, right? Well, I could be doing this instead of doing that. For my son, I could be doing this instead of going for a walk, or instead of, watching a game or whatever. But it's important for you to be able to be at 100%. You have to give yourself 100% as well. And so managing stress, is an everyday thing, and you have to give yourself that time, um, and that flexibility, and allow yourself not to be perfect, because there's nobody's perfect, right? And so I think that's important. And we see more of, people talking about more about mental health now, because of the pandemic. Another thing, right, that resulted of it. We're
Yes.
talking more about mental health, which is great, and which is a positive thing, because it affects every aspect of our life. How we're doing up there in our heads affects how we perform as caregivers, how we perform in our jobs, how we perform as mothers, as daughters, as wives, as friends. And so we have to, just like we take care of a broken leg, we have to take care of our minds as well. I think it's really important.
Yes, I've said constantly on this podcast that I'm a big advocate for mental health awareness. If you're not feeling okay, Exactly. It's similar to a broken leg. You gotta provide treatment. You got to um, find what you need, and then gain that. I know it's easy to say that, but even just a step outside, if you need that break and it's been a very stressful day and you want to, just have a coffee break outside, take the coffee break. It's okay.
Hmm.
Do
Yeah.
it. And I know overthinkers out there, because I overthink everything. When you were talking about the dishes, I was like, well, what if your kid ate oatmeal and the oatmeal's going to stick there, and it's going to sit and it's going to sit, and you're going to have to get the steel wool, and you're going to
You
have to
know what? Throw the
I
dish
started going
away.
that
Just
way.
throw it away. Throw it
I
away, Derek. I'll buy you a new pot and I'll buy
There
you a
you
new
go.
set of
It's like that, but
dishes.
that's my
Yeah.
headspace. Is I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, or it's pasta, and the sauce is gonna ring the thing.
Right.
But I gotta stop, because yeah, it's true. It's like it's gonna get done, and it can be cleaned. And when you feel good, it's not a chore. Like, oh man, there's some stuff on there. Let me just get the bubbles or whatever, and like spray. It's not a big deal. Um, so that's a perfect example. Is those stresses are going to be there 10 minutes after you have that break.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
why not face it with a better head, with a clear head,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Exactly.
you can overcome it, and it's nothing. It's nothing. So I appreciate that encouragement, and I want to put that out there for those listening. um, so lastly, in November is ICRC week,
Mhm.
right? That's
Yes.
uh, that's beginning the Tuesday of
It
November, the
starts
last Tuesday.
um it starts on Monday, November 29th.
Okay.
ICRC week. This is the second year that we do ICRC week. It's a week where we celebrate the resiliency of caregivers, seniors, agencies that we collaborate with, that we celebrate the agency as well. And so we have a lot of activities planned for that week, um, which include several caregiver conferences. We also highlight caregivers, we highlight our partners, we share information about resources. We're going to be sharing our new ICRC commercial that we've created. We're also going to be sharing information on our new online platform, CareNav. You're going to get the opportunity to meet some of the staff through some of our Facebook Lives. So it's a full week of activities. And like I said, the whole goal is to celebrate the resiliency of caregivers, but also to celebrate one another, agencies that we've worked with that have given back to caregivers and seniors, and celebrate all the work that the agency has done as well. Um, and so, like I said, there are two of our conferences are going to be in that week. November 30th from 1 to 3 will be our English conference. And on the same day from 6 to 8 will be our Spanish conference. And the topic for our November conference this year is Social Eating Connects Caregivers. So la alimentación social conecta a los cuidadores. And so it's focusing on the importance of getting together, celebrating, and how that can also be another form of self-care, especially now we're getting closer to the holidays, and there could be some holiday blues sometimes, when these times come up, people that we've lost, or situations that have changed. Maybe mom used to cook the turkey, but she can't anymore because she has Alzheimer's. So our situations have changed, and it could be, we can have some thoughts that are sad, some sadness. And so how can we work through that? And so our conferences are always focused on, helping us do that. A few more conferences that are also going to be happening in the month of November for National Family Caregiver Month are November 4th, The Many Facets of Dementia. That's going to be from 6 to 8. And we're doing that one in collaboration with the Riverside Office on Aging. On November 13th, we're doing our statewide conference with our caregiver resource centers across the state of California, celebrating family caregiver support, community, and connections. And so all of these conferences you can find on our website, and all of the conferences are still virtual. We're still, promoting staying safe through this pandemic, and so they will be virtual. So we encourage you to participate in that. And we also encourage you to participate in our ICRC week. Again, our ICRC week is November 29th through December 4th, and it's a whole week of community. We also include in there, it kind of works well together with Giving Tuesday. So we also do like a big push and ask for some support through donations during that week as well. And so a lot of exciting things happening, and we want to invite all of you to participate.
Yes, for all those listening, please check out ICRC Week. Go to Inland Caregivers, or I'm sorry, is it inlandcaregivers.org? Is that our?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm gonna
Derek.
edit that out. But go to inlandcaregivers.org and check that out for all the events coming up. It's going to be great, and I hope to encourage you to join a lot of our virtual conferences and classes. It would be awesome to see you there. And with that, lastly, it's Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving's coming up.
Yes, Turkey Day.
Yes, so everybody goes crazy about the turkey that you make. I did not get to taste it.
No, I know.
Because at that time I was vegetarian. Was not eating meat, and now I do dabble in turkey. So yeah, you heard it first, exclusive.
Yes.
But what are your plans for Thanksgiving?
Gosh, I miss, before the pandemic, every Thanksgiving the staff would have this big potluck. I would make the turkey that everybody is so crazy about. I'm kidding. It comes out really good. It actually really does. But I do miss that. We're still trying to stay safe, and so unfortunately we're not having those gatherings with the agency, and honestly I don't even know how we would fit in our education room because there's so many of us. But maybe at some point, when things get a little better, maybe we can do that again. And so, in the spirit of staying safe, I have to stay safe for myself, but also for my son, because his immune system, needs a little encouragement. And so he is more prone to getting sick. And so through this whole pandemic, we have been staying home, staying safe, only visiting individuals that are vaccinated, family members. And so this, I cook every year for Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. That's like my favorite holiday. And so even though it probably will just be the two of us, because again, we're trying to stay safe during these holidays, I still plan on making a big feast, and probably sharing the food with having a lot of leftovers or sharing the food with others. But yeah, for Thanksgiving, I think this year it's just going to be me and my son. Again, trying to stay safe. Not everybody believes or is vaccinated, and just for his safety, really, it's better for us to only visit with individuals that are vaccinated right now, because the pandemic's still going on. We still have to try our best to stay safe, and so and that becomes a struggle too through these holidays, not being able to see people that you usually see. And then for caregivers, we've kind of been living this life of it almost feels like not a lot changed for us. Before the pandemic, we were still being extra cautious and trying to protect the people that we care for. And now through the pandemic, everybody kind of got a glimpse of what a caregiver's life is like, staying safe, staying home. And now, after the pandemic, it continues for caregivers. And although a lot of places are opening up, caregivers, we still have to stay safe. We are still taking care of individuals that are vulnerable. And so it almost seems like not a lot has changed. And so that's why it's so important that you take care of yourself, because, you know, these are difficult times. And so, you know, just hang in there, everyone. But yeah, happy holidays. Happy holidays to everyone. Happy Turkey Day. And soon after that, Christmas. But
Yes,
yeah,
Christmas. Man, that was a huge hit of reality. So with those in this pandemic, I guess that's a similar situation of a caregiver.
yeah,
You gotta take care of your loved ones and ensure that they're safe and healthy. In my own experience with this pandemic, you have those days where it's well, I'm speaking for summer. So summer was extremely hot and it,
yeah, yeah.
irritating, and you're like, oh, I got to do this. And, and then you're working from home. So you're not going anywhere. You're working from
Mhm.
home, and then you're living at home. So like you can see your workstation from where you're watching TV,
Yeah,
and that's, I guess that's your responsibility, right? So you're needing to work, and with that, you have the responsibility of being a caregiver, and you just can't. You sometimes you feel you can't get out. I don't know if that's accurate, but
yeah.
you know,
It could, you could, it can definitely feel that way, right? I've been working from home too. And so I make it a point, you know, when I'm done working, I shut down the computer. I don't take another look at it. That's it. You know, I close the door to my little mini office that I have, and that's it. And then, you know, I also try to, you know, get out of the house every once in a while, even if it's just for a walk, with my son, or, you know, go out to the back, do some exercise, you know, stay active, um, and of course talk to your family, you know, call them, FaceTime. I think it's important for us to stay engaged if we're not able to do much out there in terms of, you know, restaurants and all of that. And like for myself, when I say, you know, not a lot really changed for me in my situation, you know, my son has autism, so being in large crowds is not fun for him. So we were never the type to go out to watch movies or restaurants. All of those types of environments were not our go-to when we were doing things out of the house. And so for us, you know, after the stay-at-home order, we really weren't missing anything because we weren't doing any of those activities as it was. Right?
yeah, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing that did change, obviously, is, you know, him being able to go to school, you know,
Mm,
and me, you know, going to the office, or visiting more with family. But other than that, you know, we've made, you know, we've been home, and we enjoy being home, and we find activities to do at home. And so it, you know, it is kind of funny, like I said, everybody else kind of got a glimpse of what caregivers have to go through, and a lot of us go through and have been going through this pandemic, because sometimes we're not able to do some of the things that a lot of people miss, like the trips to Disneyland, or or
yeah,
the trips to the sports events and stuff like that. As a caregiver, all those types of outings that many people missed were really not even things that we did, because, you know, we're caregivers, and we have certain things that we have to do, and they're not environments that are appropriate for the people that we care for. And so, you know, on that side, you know, not much changed. However, of course, seeing more family or whatever, that definitely changed a little bit. But again, you know, we have our FaceTime, we have our phone, we have now our Zoom, and so we're able to stay connected, which is important.
yeah. It's great to have that technology to be able to talk to really anyone,
Mhm.
over FaceTime, texting, social media. You can see what you can see what your friends and family are doing, and you know, at home, running, whatever that is. Um, this time has been great, just to, like you said, just I guess make your home um, comfortable and to become closer to your family, to pick up other activities, outside activities, physical activities. Like I've taken up running, and that's been insane. I never saw myself as a runner. Now all of a sudden I'm running. So I mean,
That's great.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
wild. It's wild to see that, and then just enjoying the time with my kids. When they were home, we would. It was different. It was a change, but it's become more. We communicate more. We talk to each other more, and not that we weren't before, but it's just become stronger,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been good to put that effort into those things instead of like, oh, we gotta pick you up from school, then we gotta get home, then we gotta get you dressed, then we gotta go
Yeah.
to softball practice, then we gotta go here, then we gotta go there. And before you know it, like the
Mhm.
only time you can talk is weekends, but that's when like family parties
Right.
are, or that's when games are, or
Right.
whatever, So I
Yeah.
appreciated the break, and just to be able to focus on more important things like your family and your extended family and friends and all those things that honestly just make life great, as opposed to like concerts and sporting events. So those are just experiences,
Right.
but family and connection, that makes everything awesome and
Hmm.
worth living. So well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by Inland Caregivers Corner. It's been an awesome conversation. As I said, like, I don't know, it got me a bit emotional in the beginning, or in the middle. Um, but it was great, and I loved it. So thank you so much, and I hope to have you again, possibly on the 20th episode, or even sooner if you'd like
Sure.
to come back.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Definitely. It was definitely fun. Chatting it up. It
Chopping it
was
up.
good. Chopping it up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, chopping it up. It was great. And so thank you. And like I said, you're doing a wonderful job with the podcast, and I'm excited. This is the 10th episode. I'm excited to hear more. It's just you've just put everything together really well. And so I'm glad. I'm glad that we have you doing it. Um,
Oh,
yeah, it's awesome.
thank you. No, thank you honestly for the opportunity, and as I said, it's great to um, bring the knowledge and something that I had to the table. I swear, like, we were in that meeting, how this whole started, and I think I described it before. We were in a meeting, and you had mentioned a podcast, and I got these like, I don't know what it was, but I got these like chills, like around me, and I was like, this is something you need to do. And so after the meeting I said, I've done a podcast, I think I can do this, and then it went from there. So I'm happy to
Yeah.
do it. It's work, it's been some work, but I'm happy to have something tangible out there that our clients and anyone really can listen to. So I'm thankful for the platform and thankful for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank
Cool.
you. Thank you again, and everybody have a good
Yeah, you as
holidays.
well. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Turkey Day.
I hope you enjoyed episode 8 of the Inland Caregivers Corner podcast. I would love some feedback on the show. Please drop a comment on the page if you are or are not enjoying the podcast. I would love to hear constructive feedback. Subscribe to Inland Caregiver Resource Center page on YouTube and listen to our previous episodes along with all upcoming episodes. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Carmen Estrada, the Executive Director of ICRC, Inland Caregiver Resource Center. There was some great insight on her experience with ICRC and just some awesome points on becoming a caregiver, the lifestyle of a caregiver, or just different tasks that may come up as a caregiver. And also, I hope you will join me again in December as we discuss Christmas, the holidays, and it is also AIDS Awareness Month. So we will have some great information on those topics. And so I hope you'll join me in December for that episode. And I hope everyone has a great holiday, a great Turkey Day, a happy Hanukkah, and just a all-around awesome holiday. Thank you so much. Neighbor, friend, relative, or colleague need resources with caregiving, please contact Inland Caregiver Resource Center at 800-675-6694. Add us on Facebook at facebook.com/ICRC1985. So that's facebook.com/ICRC1985. Follow us on Instagram at Inland Caregiver. Like and subscribe to Inland Caregiver Resource Center on YouTube. And of course, check out our beautiful new website at www.inlandcaregivers.org. Commit that to memory, www.inlandcaregivers.org. Keep listening to Inland Caregivers Corner for information and resources as we continue to cope with and manage the challenges of caregiving together. I am Derek Chacon, and continue to care for yourself, loved ones, and your community. Have a great day.